Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together.
Hey, leader! I am super excited to have with us today Sherell Slaise. She is a great friend of mine. We have been collaborators and partners over the last several years in business entrepreneurship and leadership. And I'm so excited for her to come here today to really talk about being unleashed and unstoppable as a leader. Sherell, I think, what was it? You celebrated your 19 years of being an entrepreneur a few weeks ago.
Yes, I did.
You know a thing or two about being an entrepreneur. But one thing I will say that I've always admired about you is your ability to lead powerfully, vulnerably, authentically, while also being a mom of 3. And I know that I interviewed you several years ago, and it was always a thing that I always admired, especially being a mom of young children, of like just how you really navigate life. You know, you're so, as I said, like authentic and honest, and people can really connect with you. And we love to talk, obviously, like what goes on in the brain. So first, I'd love for you to take a second to introduce yourself and share a bit about your journey. But then also, I'd love for us to dive into what it takes to be such a powerful, strong woman and lead powerfully in your family, while also being the coach and leader and mentor and guide that you are to your clients and community.
Oh my good. That was a powerful context to pull out. Let me see if I can land that. I will say that yes, I celebrated 19 years in business ownership, specifically entrepreneurship, because I believe there's a difference between owning a business and actually being an entrepreneur in your business. On January the 7th, I went into business January 7th, 2007. After I'd say 5 years prior to that, recognizing that the corporate world was just no longer for me. I started investing in reading books and subscribing to the of what I was reading, which was much about changing your thinking and changing your environment such that you set yourself up for economic success, whatever you define as economic success for yourself and for your life. And so my thinking began to transform, which led me to ultimately start looking at other ways of making money so that I could fund my lifestyle. And it created a bit of a monster of an investor of time, an investor of money, and an investor in business. And so by the age of 30, I leapt out of corporate and started my first business. 9 years after that, I started my second business. And then 3 years after that, I started a third business, some of which I ran simultaneously at the same time. I did go back to corporate for about 11 months when my third child was born, because economically I felt that's what was needed for our family, to have a real steady income for when times were rough inside of business. And like I said, that stint only lasted for 11 months. I found myself needing to depart from there because my thinking had changed. I just wasn't conditioned to the mindset that was needed for that type of environment. And so yeah, I mean, being a leader of leaders is what I've become over the years. And I think a lot of that stems from my own historic upbringing with family dynamics and partnerships, entrepreneurial partnerships within my family. My grandmother owned a restaurant and a nightclub for over 30 years. My father owned real estate properties and, landlorded, and he owned a bar for many years. When I was growing up, my mother owned a department store throughout my upbringing as a child, and then went on to become, she was the direct sales representative for a lot of clothiers and perfume departments and cosmetology, as I was growing up. And so seeing my family,
Ah,
you know, serve that in that dynamic and capacity, me being an athlete as well, in volleyball, I was a leader. I developed into a leader. John Maxwell asks, is a leader born or is it made, right? A leader is made, okay? And I will
yeah.
say I was created as a leader. And so much of what I do now through leadership transformation courses since I was 21, and the selections that I make in my life with regard to the husband I decided to partner with for the rest of my life, decisions around business, decisions around child rearing. It's all grounded in leadership. So I think your question was, did you ask me, how did I maintain my leadership posture in business while also having a family? Is that what you're asking? What was that? What was the
Yeah,
grounding?
like I guess maybe let's because you kind of me think of something else as you're speaking.
Yeah,
You think about that because what it sounds like, right? You've made a lot of these. So first, let's just look at the neuroscience. You
yeah.
believe innately, you embody leadership, and based
Hmm.
on those beliefs, you made decisions in all areas of your life based
Yeah,
on the leadership, and that it has what supported you in creating and raising, three beautiful children, businesses, loving partnership with your husband. The question that's coming to me right now, and I think this is kind of will help actually answer that original question, was what are some of the foundational things that you believe are important for leaders to embody, to move forward, to be those leaders in any area of our lives? Because I think that's it. We can all be a leader, and as you said, leaders are formed. They're created when we embody certain characteristics. You're right. If we obviously study multiple different leaders out there, there are some of these common leadership traits that we tend to notice in a lot of leaders, which I would say, I think that's probably really my question, because I know that that's what I've always admired in you.
yeah. There. Okay, so you're talking about leadership attributes, and I jotted a few of them down as you're asking. It came really quickly to me. What is it that I'm embodying constantly? And one of the things is confidence
Mm,
as a leadership attribute and principle that I live by is confidence.
mhm.
Um, but in order to gain confidence, it requires you to have experience in doing the thing, because then you get to have certainty that you've experienced the thing. And once you have
Right,
a certainty that you've experienced the thing, then now you have confidence to do the thing. Does that make sense?
right.
So confidence is created from certainty, but certainty is only gotten from experience. And so I have a practice of saying yes to opportunity. I've
Mm,
made that a lifestyle of saying yes to opportunity. When someone presents something to me, I'm not closed eyes. I'm ready to take the opportunity to see it. I'm ready to take the leap. I'm ready to experience this before I decide that that's not something that I want to do. Right. So just being
yeah,
open to opportunity and having an active role in that opportunity is key, because that's the only way you're going to get the experience is to actually do it, right?
right.
And experience it. And so in observation of my life so far, and by the way, I turned 50 October 2025. I get to implant some wisdom to you and some others that are listening, in saying that through my life, I have been a yes person. I'm a yes person. I want to try it. I want to do it. I want to experience it. I want to see if it's for me. And my ability to be able to do that is another leadership attribute that I embody, and that's the ability to be able to decide, decisiveness.
Hmm.
And I don't spend a whole lot of time in, analytics, just analyzing the thing.
Yeah.
I just don't stay there because it freezes you. You know, the more thinking that you do, you're considering the options, and the options, the more thinking that you do around a certain topic or idea, the less likely you're going to be able to have to take action, which means you're not having the experience, which means you won't be able to create the certainty that yes or no, that's right for me. Right. So it's just
Yeah.
all kind of feeds together. So decisiveness is a leadership attribute that I embody, and it's allowed me to have success in business and also success with my family life, because I do come in front of the same barriers that many of you who are listening experience with spousal disagreements, or being on different sides of the fence on a certain idea when it comes to the kids or whatever it is. But I'm firm in my decisions, right? Doesn't mean that I don't compromise. It doesn't mean that we can't come to a common ground, but I'm firm in my positioning. And because of that leadership, it's what he loves about me, my husband, is that it's when I waver, when I'm uncertain,
Yeah.
when I'm not,
It's that
even
confidence.
when I'm not even, yeah, what was the word?
The confidence. It's
Confidence.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
attracted to your confidence because you are stand behind what it is that you believe, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, there isn't that wishy-washy wavering, right? Which can
Yeah.
also create uncertainty in somebody else's mind. You're certain, and there's a power in that, and there's a safety for the other person actually in that
Yeah.
being.
Yes, there's a safety. There's a safety, and I think that he feels safe. As so
Yeah.
long as so I make a lot of decisions he makes a lot of decisions, and I also make a lot of decisions for our family, and I also know when to step back, and allow for him to lead our family as well. But because I make a lot of those decisions, I'm able to make a lot of those decisions for our family because of the safety. I
Yeah.
like that word, the safety that he feels because of the confidence that I embody. The other leadership principle, I'm going to leave you with this third one. And I'm kind of playing around with this one, and I know it to be true, but I'm playing around with it because I'm also I chose to be a volleyball coach last year and this year for sixth grade girls. My daughter plays volleyball now, and they're winning. I mean, they're losing. They're on a losing streak, and I can't understand why they're losing, right? And I'm trying to figure out, is it a lack of competitiveness? Do they not have a winning spirit? Or is it skill? Like, what is it, right? So it's not skill, because I've trained them. I trust that I've trained them well. I speak to them all the time about their leadership and their ability to lead themselves, and be influential to others on their team. They should, always focus on themselves, before the collective, because focus on yourself, be strong in yourself, your team will follow you.
Yeah.
But we're on a losing streak. So I had to come back to that and think, why are we losing? Because I do not like to lose. I hate losing. However, when I do lose, it's okay. Like, I still have a good spirit about me afterward. And that's when I was like, it's a leadership principle. It's a leadership attribute that my sixth graders do not have. And I'm going to say it's competitiveness. It's grit. It's grit.
Mm,
It's grit.
yeah.
The ability to stand firm in what it is that you want and to not waver off of it. Now, for me, it shows up as competition and
Yeah.
winning, right? Just standing your ground.
Yeah. Commitment. There's a commitment.
Commitment.
Well, here's like, because you said three things, right? And so, or three C's with your words. I was like, a commitment, right? Like, right, when it's the leadership quality, to be committed to the outcome. So you're not giving up on the girls, right? It's just you're working out what is it that would motivate them to get there, right? So there is a grit, there is resiliency, but there's also a commitment, right? There's a humbleness because you're so committed to these girls, right? So that's kind of, to go through the three C's of what you're sharing. I was kind of thinking of that. And I just want to, I loop back to something that you said earlier about, it's the thoughts, right? You've taught the girls all the skills. So it's not about a skill. And I think this is so important, right? It's about their identity. Actually, this, as we're talking, like that could be something, because if they see themselves as losers, they're going to continue to see themselves as losers. So I think my question for them would be, what's it going to take for them to see themselves as winners? And do get to experience it at the same time, right? Our brains don't know the difference between rehearsal and reality. So their current reality is showing them that they are quote unquote on a losing streak, but what can it look like for them to experience what it actually feels like to win? And right, because like you said, it's up here, right? That's sort of in the gap, right? You've given them all the tools, and this is often, in all conversations with people like, well, I'm doing all the things. It's not about the things. It's about the leadership qualities, the identity, and these I guess you could say certain standards, right? That you live by, right, Sherell, in your leadership, and how you be and model that for others, right? But that's like, it's just so innate in you. So it's a question of like, how do you transfer that over into the girls? But it's like going up that next level. Okay, what do they truly believe? Because their thoughts create their reality, right? And so
I like that. Yeah, no, you're spot on. In fact, you gave me an idea because we won. We're on a losing streak, but we won last night. We won 2 games in a row. And I'm going to ask them. I know, woo woo. So I'm like, and by the way, I just realized I have on the athletics sweatshirt because we have another game this afternoon. I'm going to ask them that question. I'm going to ask them that question of what did it feel like last night when we won? We've been on this losing streak. What does it feel like when we won? To see if they can embody it again. But the other thing is, I want to know physically, how does that materialize for you? And I'm actually going to come with some ribbons, meaning like hair ribbons, because I'm thinking they all go to school at the same time. I'm going to have a few props. This is that practice on Saturday. I'm going to put a few props around and do some ribbons. I got to think about some other things that they can actually like. When you're winning, like, what do you wear? What do you put on? Like, what do you do to celebrate yourself? And, is it ribbons, or is it, maybe I'll have some like cool socks from the dollar store, right? Are they these red socks, are these fun little socks? Like, what do you want? And I'm going to give it to them. And I'm going to say, okay, on Monday, I want you to come to school and you wear these things because you're winners. You know what I'm saying? And just make it fun. And so that's the, like you're saying, the embodiment, the identity. Like, what do we get to do for ourselves to put us in a state of commitment, to put us in a state of decisiveness, to put us in the state of confidence? Like, what do we have to do in order to create that experience for ourselves so that we can have certainty that we can do that thing and we can be that thing? And it comes back to, it all is full circle. It's the yes, being open to the possibility of experiencing something new, having something new, being someone new, creating exactly what it is that you want in your life. You have complete control of that.
Hey, there's another C. Just want to point that out, right? Like, remember that. So if we go back to my original question, and that's what I'm saying, with embodying these ways of being, right? This is how you have been able to show up like the mom, like the leader, like the wife that you have been, to create the success in your businesses, right? To create the relationship with your children and your husband. And that is what I always admired, but it was because of your being, right? And because you and I met before I think when I was pregnant with Abigail, when you and I first met, right? So it was like, okay, looking at someone who has 3 beautiful children and who's raising them, it was like, okay, who do I get to be now as I enter motherhood so that I get to create that, right? And so just for those who are listening, like, Sherell's really shared some golden things that, nuggets to really take away in looking at yourself. And like, when you look at 2026 and you look at this identity and how you're choosing to show up and what is important to you this year, right? This grit, this resiliency, this confidence, experiencing the win, right? It's something we always do. Like Carol and I with our clients, as we talk about what's the celebration, how are you going to celebrate to tap into the emotion and the feeling so that you can then generate that, right? Our brains don't know the difference between rehearsal and reality. So you have an opportunity to train the brain to create that outcome, but you've got to be super clear on it. So physically, whether it is, hair pom-poms or funky socks, like with anything. And I remember for our move to Panama, that's what I would sit in. I would sit in visualization of imagining being on the beach, walking the beach, hearing the sound of the waves. And that is what I'm hearing you say, Sherell. You're creating, with your volleyball team, but also just embodying those characteristics and being that model. And we just finished a live, I know, in your community, and we were talking about Free to Be Me. We talked about right? Again, the environment, those characteristics, the listener, right? Modeling those ways of being for the people around us, because as you show up and be the example, others in our lives will do the same. And so I want to thank you because you have been a role model to me and navigating so authentically motherhood and CEO-ship, with your businesses and being raw and real. And also, now you're getting to coach and it's a whole new experience. And yet it comes back to that foundation that you shared with us today. So I want to thank you for being here and just being the leader that you are. If our audience would like to connect with you or be in your community, what is the best way that they can connect with you? If you've got a freebie or a gift as well that we can include in the show notes for the listener today.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a quiz for those women, because I know many of you are high achieving women, just like myself and Alex, that are wondering if you have a readiness to move into leadership inside of your business and really function as the optimal CEO that you vision for yourself. I have a quiz that I think that will assess your business readiness. And if you want to take it, you are welcome to do that. You just go to sherellslaise.com/quiz. It'll take you there. So pretty simple, sherellslaise.com/quiz. And I think you'd enjoy the outcome of the results that you get.
Fun. I love it. Love all the leadership stuff. And one final question before we wrap up. What does it mean to be unleashed unstoppable to you?
What does it mean to be unleashed, unstoppable?
Unleashed and unstoppable. Yeah.
Oh, and unstoppable. Unleashed and unstoppable. Man, what that means to me is I see it as something that I continue to strive for, to be unleashed and unstoppable. It is a lifestyle, it's a choice, and it is a journey that I'm on. Been on and will continue to be on. And what it means is that ultimately you never arrive. You never arrive there. You're going to continue to unveil yourself under all the different layers that are there. So to be unleashed and unstoppable, it's a continued venture. A continued venture.
Life's a journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Sherell. And thank you to the listener for tuning in. And we'll see you again next Thursday. Bye.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.